Welcome into Giants Postgame Live, presented to you by NFL All Day. The Giants lost a tough one in Seattle. I'm Madelyn Burke here with Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty. Fellas, 27-13 is the final score, but it really wasn't until late that this one got out of hand, Shaun.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, the fact that they were even had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter, you got to give credit to the defense keeping the Giants in this game. But look, there was the lackluster start offensively that just put them behind the eight ball. They punted the ball 5 times in the first half, or 4 of them were 3 and outs. You can't do that. Seattle's a tough place to play. You go into that game and you know offensively we got to hit the ground running. They got off to a slow start. Just couldn't really muster up anything despite Seattle struggling to stop the run all season long. The Giants just could not get that run game going early on, and they couldn't stay on the field.
And Shaun, the slow start for the Giants offense contributed to the issues that the Giants defense saw in the second half. You're talking about doubling up on play number in the first half with the Seattle Seahawks offense, dictated the terms in which this game was played. They controlled time of possession. 17 and a half minutes they held the ball in the first half. The Giants defense tried to do its best to keep this team in this game, but ultimately that muff punt, the second of muff punts by Richie James, proved to be the consequential turning point in this game, and the Giants weren't able to get it done.
Right, and one of the things that's really stood out about the way that the Giants have been able to win games so far this season is not shooting themselves in the foot, not having those errors on their own. And kind of playing through. You mentioned those turnovers, but offensively, the struggle to start. You mentioned 3 straight 3 and outs. It's important to note too, the Giants came in here pretty short-handed offensively. Yeah,
Madelyn, they knew it was going to be a tough task. Obviously, look, they just came back from London 3 weeks ago, so another big, long flight across the country here. And no Evan Neal, that was a big blow. Tyree Phillips, who filled in last week, was going to be making his start. And when you're playing in Seattle, you've got the silent count. We saw that. You see on the right, the other guys, obviously Kenny Galladay's been out for a while. They lose Bellinger last week to the fractured eye socket. Shane Lemieux, who's been out since the start of the season. Bredesen went in to fill in his spot, and now Bredesen's on IR. Of course, Kadarius Toney's now with the Chiefs. But you look at all of that offensive firepower, and it's like, okay, we're kind of going into this big matchup. We don't have all of our starters. We don't have all of our firepower. So we've got to come out fast, and we've got to find some production. They just didn't get that. And you mentioned the turnovers on special teams. Like, you can't go, like, 2 things that are portable for good winning teams, a good run game and a good defense. But you go on the road in Seattle and you turn the football over, you're not setting yourself up for a win.
No, 10 points off of Giants turnovers for that Seahawks team. But the other issue that we saw for Big Blue on offense, they didn't control the line of scrimmage. That's one of the biggest issues. This is the lowest rushing output that this team has seen all season long, only 78 yards on the ground. That's not the Giants' formula for success. It's Saquon, and then Daniel Jones on some zone read opportunities. I didn't think the Giants did a good enough job of getting him out there on the perimeter, letting him take advantage of his legs. Now, that's credit to Pete Carroll's defense, but some of the things that the Giants used for success in recent games, in particular that Jacksonville Jaguars game, they just weren't there for the Giants to be able to make those plays today, and I thought that hurt them in terms of being able to build momentum on the offensive side of the ball.
Saquon had 2.7 yards per carry right there, to your point. We saw a little bit of dancing there. Right?
Yep.
We didn't see the decisions, the vertical, getting downhill and just attacking the defense that we had kind of seen this season. So, maybe Saquon's pressing a little bit. But to your point, at the end of the game, I mean, the floodgates were open. We saw the sacks starting to pile up. Josh Azudu at left guard was struggling. Glowinski gave up a sack. And, look, that's when the defensive linemen are teeing off on the linemen, and you guys are licking your chops.
Well, the Giants defense had their work cut out for them today as well. Paul Dottino is down on the field with Julian Love. Let's send it down to Seattle.
Yeah, we hit a lot of our goals, but it comes down to just limiting them, stopping them, and when we have the short field, holding them to 3 instead of touchdowns.
I know you're also a part of special teams, so to have those critical turnovers to set them up in good field position has to be a killer.
Yeah, I mean, turnovers and penalties, that's the makeup of our game. We had 2 short fields off turnovers, and then we limited ourselves on returns with penalties. I think we played solid, but with those few one-offs, we got to eliminate.
From a psychological perspective, it is 13-13 early in the fourth quarter, and you guys have been so good at finishing. So how much does this kind of dent your confidence?
I don't think it does. I think we move on. We didn't make the plays that we've been making, and we know what it is. I mean, we strive to hit our goals each week. We didn't hit them today, but that won't knock what we have going forward.
Lockett made a number of plays, and a Metcalf, who they said wasn't going to play all week, all of a sudden did. Both guys reached the end zone. That had to be disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, just a few things, limiting them in the end zone. 2 plays, but I thought for the most part we did solid on defense. We limited the pass the best we could, and we stopped the run, which is a good run team. So, yeah, they scored, and you want to eliminate that, but we have some stuff going forward that we can look forward to.
Finally, Geno Smith looked a little bit more dangerous here on the field today than he has on tape. Your impressions?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. He's been behind some talented guys. He's getting his time to shine right now. He's just a talented player who has experience. He knows how to put the ball in playmakers' hands. That's what he did today.
Julian Love, thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate you.
Back to you guys.
That sound from Julian Love brought to you by Ford as we take a look at Julian's numbers today against the Seahawks. 5 tackles, 2 assists, 7 combined. But one of the things that, Julian mentioned as well is, hey, this team is used to coming into the fourth quarter and rallying in that space. The Giants had previously been 4-0 when coming into the fourth quarter in a deficit. Today, just like you mentioned, shooting themselves in the foot, a couple of missteps. But Seahawks had their own missteps, too. Tyler Lockett had a couple of moments today that he would like to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tyler Lockett, not only does he lead to the Giants' first touchdown off of that fumble that was forced by the defense, but then also he has a touchdown that he drops. He's wide open. Now, Shaun, we saw that the Seahawks and Shane Waldron came right back to that play, that stutter go, which ultimately ended up being a touchdown for the Seahawks. But, yeah, I think that the Seattle offense did a good job early in that fourth quarter with their first possession. Geno Smith in particular, 5 for 5 on that drive for 75 yards and a touchdown pass. That was the turning point in terms of Seattle being able to put some distance between themselves and the Giants. And then it didn't help that right after the defense was able to force a stop, the Giants, Richie James fumbles the ball, and then it ends up leading to more points for the Seahawks. They go up by double digits.
When you look at this defense as a whole, I mean, they played well enough to win. You look at what they had to do on the road against Geno Smith, and look, all your premonitions and preconceived aspects of what Geno Smith was previous to this is not the same quarterback. This is not the same Geno Smith. Coming into this game, Geno Smith, yes, that Geno Smith, led the NFL in completion percentage, 73%. He led the NFL in deep ball passing and touchdowns. He had 8 of them coming in this game. So, look, he's been a deep threat thrower, and he's been spinning that ball really well. We saw DK Metcalf almost have a big touchdown. Tyler Lockett dropped the other one. I think that, look, you can't underestimate this down-the-field attacking offense that Seattle had, and yet the Giants found a way to keep it in the game. Julian Love, talking with Paul Dottino at the end there, look, they really lost DK Metcalf on that first touchdown, kind of in coverage. It looked like one thought, they were going to pass it off in zone coverage, and that was really the one, like, busted coverage you could see. But the other one was, look, Adoree Jackson played a heck of a game, had that unbelievable forced fumble. The Giants defense led the league in forced fumbles coming in this game, so you can't say enough about how spirited they played, how well they played. In the end, they gave up just a couple big plays that ended up costing them that. I think they kind of capitalized on Adoree Jackson being so aggressive on that double move. You have to tip the hat off. But look, defensively, they shut down Kenneth Walker. Both teams were keen on shutting down the run game, forcing both quarterbacks to try to throw the football, and today Geno threw it better.
Right, shut down Kenneth Walker. He had just 51 yards on the ground today, too. That's a positive sign. But final score, 27-13 in favor of the Seahawks. We'll continue to break this one down after the break. But first, guests of our post-game show received a gift certificate to Ben & Jack's, located on 44th Street in Manhattan. From the celebrated porterhouse to finer seafood, Ben & Jack's will surpass your expectations of what a steakhouse should be. Stay with us. We've got more to come here on Giants Postgame Live, presented by NFL All Day, including sound from head coach Brian Daboll. That and much more. We'll be right back. Hey, Giants fans, don't miss Giants football at MetLife Stadium. Limited tickets are available for all remaining home games, including a matchup with the Eagles. Visit Giants.com/tickets to find your game this season and secure your seat. We want to see Big Blue fans out at MetLife Stadium. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, presented to you by NFL All Day. The Giants went out to Seattle, 27-13 loss to the Seahawks. Guys, Seattle is a tough place to play. The last time this team was in Seattle, it was 2020. There were no fans in the building. A lot of the guys on this roster remembered that experience, but having the fans there, having the 12th man, that is an impactful environment, Chris.
No question about it, Madelyn. You saw it early on in that game, a couple of false starts by Tyree Phillips, not to mention the delay of game by Daniel Jones. When you have some guys that are out on that offensive line, it affects the communication, and that issue gets exacerbated when you have that crowd noise breathing on top of you. And so I thought that played a major factor in terms of the offense getting out to a slow start. And one of the things we also saw from that Seahawks defense, they played a lot of cover 3, which means an 8th defender down in the box to shut down the run on early downs and distances. The Giants today averaged 8.8 yards to go on third downs. For context, that would be good for 31st on the season in the National Football League. That's too far a distance to be able to have any type of chance to convert consistently on that, and that cost the Giants in terms of being able to sustain drives.
Yeah, 3rd and 9 plus, not where you want to be in the silent count, and we saw that crowd noise and that silent count kind of came to haunt the Giants later on. We saw Nwosu getting a great jump on it. The defense was keying off on that, but really they didn't have a lot of pre-snap penalties, which is good. Tyree Phillips had a false start early on, but you could see how it impacted even just like the protections. All right, Daniel Jones wants to change the play at the line. Everybody's got to come in. We saw a delay of game. Those things they tend to happen when you're battling the noise because you can't change things, you can't adjust things, you can't change your protections. So I thought they did a good job handling that. But to your point, man, 3rd and 11, which Daniel Jones converted a 3rd and 12 and a 3rd and 11 to Darius Slayton. So I tell you what, as much as the Giants lost, I think, again, you've got to tip your cap to Daniel Jones and what he's able to do with this hodgepodge receiving core. I mean, no other quarterback in the league is dealing with what Daniel Jones and the Giants have had to deal with at the wide receiver position. I mean, they're ready to put Don Sperling out there at receiver because we just need somebody that can catch the football. We need somebody that can run consistent routes. And I think Daniel Jones is still finding a way to get those third and long conversions, and he's also doing it with his legs too. So he's trying his best to make some big plays, but they're not built that way. That's not the way the offense is set up right now.
And another week where there's 8 different Giants players catching a pass from Daniel Jones. I mean, you mentioned Darius Slayton. He had some big catches, especially in that second half. He's really kind of coming back into his own this season. But Chris, one of the things that you mentioned too while we were watching this game is just how much of a mirror image these teams are of each other, right? Well-coached teams, really no clear number one, passing the ball around quite a bit. When you're playing a team that's kind of identical to you in that regard, or a mirror of yourself, I mean, how do you kind of build off of that?
Well, I think one of the things that Giants fans can feel great about, and this team can feel great about going into the bye week, is that you have a coaching staff that can make adjustments at halftime. And you saw that the Giants coming out of halftime, back-to-back scoring drives. One of the things that we started to see is some deep in-breaking routes where Darius Slayton really started to impact the game. And so I think those are some things that you can build off of. There are some positives coming out of this game. And I think the Giants will have an opportunity with 2 weeks to be able to do some self-scout, see the things that they did in the first half of the season that they did well, and some of the things that they struggled with, and they can get that stuff cleaned up.
Well, and speaking of well-coached, head coach Brian Daboll is stepping to the podium now in Seattle. Let's send it out there.
Okay, how we doing? Hey, Mark. Tough loss. Give Seattle credit. Did everything better than we did today. So, fly home, make the corrections, have a bye week, and get ready to play Houston.
Obviously, how costly are fumble punts for you guys there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's taking care of the ball is one of our main goals, and obviously we didn't do it. And then they got the ball in good field position there to capitalize on 10 points. You turn the ball over in your side of the field, it's tough. So we got to fix that.
Brian, without looking at the film, obviously, in those 2 punt plays, is he trying to do too much? Is he getting a little reckless there, or are those just good plays?
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at it, Mark. I looked at the Jumbotron. I thought the one guy knocked it out of his hand pretty good, but 2 tough plays. Richie knows you got to take care of it, and that's the game.
It seemed like Seattle on defense really was keyed in to not let Daniel hurt them a lot with the
Yeah.
bootlegs, and obviously paying a lot of attention to Saquon. Did you see that too? And were you hoping that your passing game could make up for that?
Yeah, no, they did a good job all the way around. I thought they did a good job of stopping the run. I think we averaged less than 3 yards. I thought they did a good job on the perimeter on some of the nakeds and the keeps. We didn't hit any big plays off of them. They just did a better job than we did.
You had 2 chunk plays today, 20-plus plays, one last week. I mean, how hard is it for you guys? Do you need more than that in order to win? Or can you, is it sustainable to compete, win if you're not making those big plays or getting those big plays?
Well, they certainly help. Big plays certainly help in a game, whether they change field position or improve your odds to score on that drive. So continue to look at it and find ways to do it.
Brian, you guys obviously been a very good fourth quarter team. You've been trailing 4 of them now. Is there a confidence level that you feel in this group that, when you get into that, fourth quarter, you ended up tying it up shortly after the fourth quarter?
No, our guys are confident. We just didn't do enough today, all the way around. Again, give Seattle credit. It's hard. That ball is important. We got to do a better job of taking care of it. We got to do a better job of executing and finishing drives, converting on some third downs, particularly early on in the game. So, a lot to work on.
What message do you send to them? You got a week off here now. What message do you send them away with?
Keep your head up. Got a good week of practice. There's obviously things that happened in this game that we have to eliminate from happening, just like there is every game, whether you win or whether you lose. Come in, be consistent on Monday, make the corrections. They'll have some time off on the bye week and come back ready to go.
How are you guys going? They're coming in tomorrow?
They're going to be in tomorrow.
And then what?
Then they'll be off.
You're letting them go tomorrow?
Yeah.
Off the rest of the week?
Yep.
What did you see from Nick Gates, and what was it like just having him back on the field?
I'd have to look at it. Yeah.
Just in general, just having him back out.
Just having him out there provides energy. I thought he was excited. He was excited all week. Obviously, we know his story, so we'll just keep working with him.
His first snap, he made a block that helped get that touchdown, and he was pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
What do you think when you see that, and how special is that for you guys as a team to see him enjoy that moment? Because it's been a long road for him.
Yeah, I think it's special. Coming back from the injury, well documented. Just wants to be part of the team and do what he can. So he's a great young guy to work with, and wish we could have had a different outcome today.
I don't know if you look at things at all like this, but it's really kind of the halfway point of the season. Do you feel like you're saying keep your head up, that it was a good first half of the season for you guys?
Yeah, well, we got a long season to go. So we were 3-1 in the first quarter, 3-1 in the second quarter. Obviously not good enough today. A lot to work on. Like I say, every week there's a lot to work on. Don't like the results of today, but, Seattle earned those results and we didn't. So we'll just come back. We'll make corrections. You do some self-scout and things like that during the week and try to fix some of the things that, we need to fix like we do every week.
One of the things that seems to have been a problem for most of the first half is those fast starts. You had a decent one last week. Is there anything?
No, didn't convert on some third and, shorter to mediums. So when you have to punt on those are tough. You don't get anything going here. You don't sustain any momentum. So certainly stuff we got to improve on.
Did you expect to come out throwing? I mean, obviously it's the game plan. You did last week. You did this week too.
there was some RPOs in there that Mike called that they took away the run. So we threw a quick out to Slayton, or we hit a slant to 17. So those were if they're going to do this, we do that. If they play this, we do that.
The mindset on that possession at the end of the first half, you get the ball back with, a minute and a half, whatever it was. We didn't want them to take timeouts. It wasn't like we were moving the ball well, so we were up and at it. If we got a first down, we could get going into it, not giving them the ball back with much time. So that was it.
You touched on it a little bit. Saquon was quiet today. They stopped the run game. What were you seeing? What was the difference today?
They just played good. They did a good job up front. They set the line of scrimmage. They tackled well. They had a lot of guys down there in the gaps. They played well.
Brian, there are some games where you have to convince your guys, look, this is what we have to do differently next time. So this is why we lost. I would imagine with your guys this week, you can pretty much put on the tape and say, okay, you guys are going to find where you guys will know where you lost this game even before the coaches pointed out.
Yeah, I think that happens every week with our guys. We try to be as consistent as we can, Art, with how we approach, after a game, good or bad. There's certain things that, you did well even though you lost, and then there's certain things you didn't do well. So I think that's the way we approach it. We just try to be as consistent as we can. Obviously, turnovers are tough, but there's a lot of other things, too, that we could have done better.
Couple more. Brian, obviously there'll be a lot of focus this week on the trade deadline. Are you hopeful that Joe will make moves, especially on offense?
Yeah, it's just after a game here. My focus is really, not happy with the outcome today.
What do you say to your quarterback when you come out of this, the run's not working, the pass game's not working? What's the next step there?
Just coach him. Yeah, just be consistent with him, coach him up.
this game aside for a second, big picture, what do you say when I tell you, the first half of your season, you went into your bye at 62?
Well, yeah, I thought we did some good things. I thought there's things obviously that we need to improve on. Long season left. Get rested up, come back out ready to go, and have a good week the following week when we get ready for Houston.
Is there a lot to be proud of? To be 6-2 is pretty good in this league. I mean, no matter how you cut it, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of that right now. I'm not happy with what we did today. So, long trip back, lot to fix, but we'll fix it.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
That sound from head coach Brian Daboll, brought to you by Ford. We'll continue to discuss his comments and much more after the break. Stay with us. But first, check out the New York Giants official mobile app. It's your destination for all things New York Giants. The updated mobile app includes the best Giants highlights, news, videos, photos, and podcasts, available for free for Apple and Android phones and tablets. Stay with us. More to come here on Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by NFL All Day. We'll be right back. Time now for our scoring drive of the game, presented by HCL Tech, supercharging progress, the official digital transformation partner of the New York Football Giants. For the scoring drive of the game, we take you to the third quarter. 14 plays, 79 yards, took 8 minutes and 56 seconds off the clock, but it was capped by a 31-yard field goal by Graham Gano. Mr. Automatic over there tied this game at 10 in the third quarter. That's our scoring drive of the game. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by NFL All Day. Guys, before the break, we heard head coach Brian Daboll speaking about this loss, obviously saying Seahawks did everything better than we did, knowing and acknowledging the missteps this team has said. But you know what? Going into the bye, there's a lot to address. You mentioned that guys have a whole week off, coming into work on Monday and then have a week off. That's a lot of time to kind of recover, get healthy, but also kind of ruminate on this loss.
Well, the Giants need this break, right? Because we're talking about them being on the road 3 of the last 4 weeks, and sandwiched in there was a fourth quarter game at home against the Baltimore Ravens. But you traveled to London, you traveled to Jacksonville, and then the game today against Seattle. There's some tired guys on this team, and so you need to take advantage of the bye week and rest up. And it comes at a perfect point in the season because it's the halfway marker. So it'll give the entire staff and the guys on this team a chance to reflect on what their identity is, the things that they need to clean up, and the things that they can accentuate when they get into the second half. Because the division race in the NFC East is tightening up, Sean.
Yeah, every team won in their division today, and I think when you lose a game like that, it's frustrating, it's tough. But when you have your bye week, and it's right now, all right, after the 8th game of the season, it's basically the middle of the season. This is the perfect time. You break up the season into basically 2 seasons. So at 6-2 right now, there's a lot of things to build on, a lot of things that Coach Daboll just talked about. They're all fixable. And I think when you kind of look at both offense and defense, not just rest during the bye week, but one of the great things about the bye week is you self-scout. And now all of a sudden, your offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, it's his first time, all right? He can look at, all right, what am I doing? What are my tendencies? Am I giving things away on first and second down? Third down, what's our formations? And then also for Wink Martindale defensively, what are we doing on 3rd and long? Is 3rd and 7+ predictable? You kind of get to look at yourself. You don't have time to do that during the regular season because time is short and you're constantly preparing for the next opponent. But the bye week is where you can kind of look at yourself, all right? Where are we? What do we need to do better? What can we change up? So I think for the Giants sitting at 6-2, this is a great opportunity for them to grow. Also get healthy. We saw Nick Gates get activated in this game for the first time. He's been battling to come back. Matt Parrott is trying to get back on the active roster. So hopefully they're going to get some players back healthy. And certainly Bellinger, they could use him back as well. This is a good time for them to rest up and reflect.
And a good week of self-scouting on some fresh eyes right there without a game looming on Sunday. Let's send it back down to Seattle, though, as Adoree Jackson is speaking now.
Every week we want to, focus on stopping the run. That's what it is in this league, stopping the run, then everything else to follow. I feel like we did a good job at trying to do that today.
What's the specific challenge that those 2 wide receivers, Lockhart and Metcalf, give defensive backs?
Specific challenges? They're great receivers. I don't know what else to say. Yeah.
Adoree, you guys had won 4 in a row, and this snaps that 4-game winning streak. How difficult a pill is it to swallow right now?
Anytime you lose, it sucks. Even when we lost the first one, we're frustrated, and the same with this one. So for us, just go back into the lab on Monday when we get back, figure out things we need to correct, and then, try to get our minds away from it, but still stay locked in. But at the same time, get our bodies together, get our minds right, so we can get ready for the second half of the season.
Yeah, it has been a physically, mentally, and emotionally draining season to this point. Does the bye come at a good time, even though you're going into it with a defeat?
I think so. I mean, halfway through the season, I would say you get a bye, get your body to rest, and get to regroup and whatever you need to do to get ready for the second half of the season. So I feel like it came at a good time.
Thank you.
That sound from Adoree Jackson is brought to you by Ford as we take a look at his numbers today. 5 tackles, 1 assist, 6 combined, 1 pass defense, and a forced fumble and recovery that set the Giants up inside the 5. And that turned into a Saquon Barkley touchdown for this Giants football team. All right, we've got more to come. Stay with us. We'll hear from quarterback Daniel Jones and more as Giants Postgame Live presented by NFL All Day continues after this break. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, presented to you by NFL All Day, the newest way to enjoy the NFL. Collect officially licensed moments featuring top highlights and use them to compete in challenges as you follow the action each week. Head to NFLAllDay.com today. Welcome back to the program. The Giants fell to the Seahawks 27-13, but one notable return today was the return of offensive lineman Nick Gates. He's speaking to Paul Dottino in the locker room.
Despite the loss, this still has to be a very proud moment for you to get back in there and actually have NFL snaps after the broken leg.
I know, it definitely was good feeling to get back out there with the team and be out there with the guys. Sucks we lost, but it was a low morale victory for me.
From a physical perspective, how did it feel? Did you have to test anything? What did the first hit feel like?
It felt good. Everything felt good. Everything felt strong and solid, and feel ready. So.
Your first snap was a touchdown, correct?
Yeah, it was.
So, and you got a block on that too, didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
What did that? I mean, you were down on the ground, looked like you were celebrating. Looked pretty special for you.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a special moment, definitely. Good. Yeah. I mean, it was just surreal for a little bit. So.
How many snaps did you expect to play today? Obviously, you were the extra jumbo package guy.
I don't know. I didn't really know how many. It just depended on the game and the situations and stuff like that. So I didn't really know how many I was going to get or not. I knew I was definitely going to get some on field goal, or goal line heavy type stuff. But I was just going in there just open-minded. I didn't know how many I was going to get.
We all know how much your teammates and this coaching staff loves you. What were the butterflies and the emotions like pre-kickoff? And then when you actually got on the field for that first snap?
I'd probably say during the national anthem is when I kind of teared up. I was standing next to Mike Baum, my trainer, who he's been there since it happened and it was with me the whole way. So I tried to make a little special moment with him, and it was after that though I was good. So.
What is the sense and feeling of accomplishment now that you actually have made it back and taken NFL snaps?
No, it's a huge accomplishment. Definitely be able to get back out there and be with my teammates. And too bad we lost, but it was a good feeling to get back out there.
And the goal from here is what?
Keep winning after this. So you get this bye week, you got to study, and we got to correct some stuff, and try to get the win the next week.
Nick Gates, great to see you again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That sound from Nick Gates brought to you by Ford. Guys, he hasn't played since week 2 of 2021, where he not only broke his leg, he snapped it in half. There was thought that it would be a career-ending possibly, and he is back on this football field. Shaun, you were talking about how this is a little bit of deja vu.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like Rich Soiber. Went through a very similar injury, a compound fracture, and just a long road to recovery. And both Rich Soiber and Nick Gates, there was infections, there was possibilities of losing the leg, and it's a great story. Laura Oakham did a great job, had a little feature on the game. If you got a chance to see the broadcast, I think he went through 7 surgeries. And when you see a teammate going through all of that, and he's just fighting and clawing every single day, you set goals. You try to, hey, I want to just get back to working out. Then I want to get back on the field and do drills. And then, to see him out there going in as a tight end. I'll say this, I don't think being in Seattle is where you envision your first rep as the tight end. With the crowd noise, you're kind of far away from the ball. He's a former center. He's used to snapping the football. You can hear the quarterback when you're snapping it. But, kudos to Nick. And I think his story right there, when you just see a guy that wants to play so much, wants to be back on the field with his teammates, that resonates with everybody. And no doubt about it, Nick Gates is feisty, all right? He is that guy that is blocking to the whistle. He's constantly trying to put somebody over a pile. That kind of culture, that kind of mindset, it's contagious. And I know that the other guys love having him on your team. He's a guy you hate playing against, right?
No doubt.
But you love him when he's on your team.
Yeah, no doubt. It's inspirational in terms of what he's been able to do working his way back after a year and a half dealing with that injury. And as all the players that have been in the NFL know, when you go through something so significant, one of the biggest issues is getting past the mental hurdle of it all and having confidence that you can go out there and perform and do the job that the coaching staff is asking you to execute. And so I think getting them in there in certain packages, heavy packages, limited reps, is just a nice way to ease him in and break the ice. And so I'd imagine that Brian Daboll and his coaching staff are going to look to expand his role as we get on the other side of the bye week, because this is a guy that has the mentality that Brian Daboll wants in terms of his offensive line owning the line of scrimmage. They didn't do that today, but hopefully with Nick Gates back in the fold, the Giants can get back to doing that against Houston in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Gates is absolutely beloved by his teammates, his coaching staff. One constant of his is that he's always on the practice field in a crop top with the long hair flowing. I said to him earlier this week, you know what, it's so great to see that crop top back on that football field.
Yeah, that's debatable, but I'll say this.
You know what, that body positive, I love the confidence here.
Nick's going to be asking for the ball soon, right? You keep him out of tight end, I want to pass.
There it is.
I know I'm blocking, but if I'm going to have to report eligible, you might as well throw me the football.
The more you can do. Maybe he'll catch a pass from Daniel Jones. Speaking of, Daniel Jones is now at the podium in Seattle.
Were you thinking you had a good chance at that point because it's something you've been doing lately?
Yeah, I think we all felt like that. Hadn't done a lot of things great to that point, but we found a way to get it back, and just didn't do enough when we got the ball back there to keep it going. So, I got to make a few more plays.
Did you feel like they were really focused on not letting you run the ball as you did last week?
I think they're doing a good job with some of those zone read things, and then some of the nakeds and keeps and keeping their width on the defense. But, credit to them. They're a good defense. They played well today.
Daniel, when you get into a situation like this, you're going into the bye, a lot of people want to pull back and look big picture. But for you and how you know this team, you know where you're at, how much focus gets put on today rather than the big picture for this team?
I think a lot. I think there's, certainly tomorrow, when we go in, we'll be focused on this game, and that's what, I think a lot of focus to this game. There's a lot of things we need to correct, a lot of things we didn't do well enough today, so we'll look to shore those up. We'll look to make corrections, and we'll look back at the first half to some extent and see where we can continue to improve. But I imagine a lot of our focus will be on this game.
You had 46 yards, I think it was, in the first half, almost 200 in the second. Did you guys make any significant adjustments going into the second half?
No, not really. I think we found some things in the run game that were working, and got into a rhythm a little bit in some of those drives. So, I think we just executed better, and did a bunch of little things better that ended up helping us convert and move the ball better.
Regardless of what's happened for you guys this year, when you've gotten into the fourth quarter, been either tied or right within striking distance, you've been the team that's been able to make the plays and avoid the mistakes. Did you feel like you guys were right there when the fourth quarter begins and you're even, that this was going to be another one of those games where you were going to make the plays to pull this one out?
Yeah, I think we all did. I think we had that feeling, and we're confident in our ability to do that. We hadn't played a great game up to that point, but confident in our ability to close out games. Just didn't do enough down the stretch. Didn't make enough plays. So things we got to look back on and clean up.
That sound from quarterback Daniel Jones, brought to you by Ford as we look at his numbers today against the Seahawks. 17 of 31 for 176 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but 6 rushes for 20 yards on the ground as well. Giants fall to the Seahawks 27-13. After the break, we're going to hear from running back Saquon Barkley. That and more as we continue to break down this one here on Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by NFL All Day. Stay with us. We'll be back after this quick timeout. But first, the Giants' official connected TV streaming app, Giants TV, brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and in the Giants mobile app.
Saquon, tough sledding today. Running game came up with even less than 80 yards. What made it so difficult today? So many times in the second half, your guys' running game has gotten going. It didn't happen today.
You got to give credit to Seattle. They did a really good job. That's really it. They did a really good job. They made plays. They made more plays than us. We just got to be a little bit better. Go back, watch film, learn from it. Get our bodies right in this bye week and come back with our mindset right, ready for Texans, or we play Texans.
Right.
Yeah.
When you talk about them doing a good job, was it schematically or just physically they were able to just make the plays and get to you?
They made plays. I mean, that happens. Part of NFL. Those guys get paid a lot of money too. They made some really good plays. But, we just got to do a better job, making more plays. It starts with me. I got to do a better job in the run game, getting it going earlier, and sustaining it.
13-13 early in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter has been the Giants' quarter all season long. Was it hard to keep the pedal to the metal? Did you guys run out of gas?
I wouldn't say we ran out of gas. They just made more plays than us. You got to give credit to them. It was their day.
How important is the bye week right now for you guys to be able to kind of reset and get ready for the second half of the season?
It's really important, not just because it's a reset. It's a great time to look back what we did so far, we accomplished in the first half of the season, learn from the good, learn from the bad, and use that to get ready for the second half of the season and come out with the right mindset against Houston.
That sound from Saquon Barkley, brought to you by Ford. Saquon had 3 receptions for 9 yards in combination with his 20 rushing attempts for 53 yards on the ground, 15-yard long, and a touchdown on the ground as well. Saquon coming into today's game, second in the league in rushing, leading the league in yards from scrimmage. But, Seahawks defense knows that. They knew that. They really honed in and held this Giants team as a whole to just 78 yards on the ground, Shaun.
Yeah, you knew Seattle was going to keen in on Saquon, try to slow down Daniel Jones. We talked about both of those. I can't emphasize enough how much they missed Daniel Bellinger and Evan Neal and Ben Britterson, the left guard. When you look at the run game, it's like a symphony or a rock band, if you will. All right, you can't just throw in another drummer or another lead guitar and expect that everybody's in sync and on the same page. So Daniel Bellinger, the blocker, has been an integral part of some of these big plays. And we saw the offensive, the run game struggled, and there were times where it was maybe a different mesh point, a missed block here and there. Saquon not getting the same run fit that he's used to, and it looked like an offense that had some other guys playing that hadn't played together. So the run game is always a concerted effort, and we saw that was a little bit of a struggle, but it also makes sense when you look at the different parts that were out there. I think Saquon is definitely frustrated, but look, this has been the way that the season has gone. It's get the game in the fourth quarter, find a way to make a couple big plays, and they just did not do that for whatever reason, but that's football.
No, you're right. That is football, and we know that this Giants team, they have a certain style of football they want to play, a formula for success that they've been able to carry from week to week during this 4-game stretch. But what changed with Seattle was the negative plays that Seahawks defense was able to create on early downs and distances. They crowded the line of scrimmage, bringing down extra defenders, 8, 9 guys in the box, and they weren't going to allow Saquon Barkley to beat him. You start looking at what Saquon was able to do today, 20 carries for 53 yards, only 62 yards from scrimmage. Saquon Barkley on the season averages 129 yards from scrimmage. But again, when you have those negative plays, it sets your entire offense behind schedule. You're talking about 2nd and 8 or longer, 3rd and 6 or longer, and it's really hard to be able to sustain drives, and I think that's what they ran into today.
It was a tough one for this Giants team, falling to the Seahawks, 27-13, 6-2 record heading into the bye. We're going to continue to break this one down after this quick timeout. But first, follow the Giants on social media. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube for the latest team coverage, breaking news, and content. After the break, we're going to hear from wide receiver Darius Slayton. That and much more on Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by NFL All Day. Stay with us.
You guys have played this kind of game a lot this year, close, fourth quarter, by a little bit. Did you think that, not that you had them where you want them, but you think you were in good shape going in the fourth quarter to, pull out another one?
Yeah, I mean, we always feel like we are in good shape to win the game. Something we preach all week is we know the games are going to be 60 minutes, and for us, we always, had that motto of taking them to the deep end, and just playing all the way through. So no matter, how much we're down by or what the situation is in the game, we always believe that we can come back and win. Obviously, we didn't get it done today, but it is what it is. We learned from, the mistakes that we made as a team, as a unit, defensively as well, and just go back to the drawing board and be better after bye week.
You haven't lost since that Dallas game in week 3, and when you just said you learned from the mistakes you made, I assume in that game, how much can you learn from today? How can you build on what you may have learned today in a loss?
There's a lot to build on. It's a lot of things that we didn't do well. We know that as a unit. There's a lot of things that I didn't do well as a play caller and as a leader on this team. And like I said, we just go back to the drawing boards and, we come back after the bye ready to go. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna get tougher. We just gotta be prepared and ready to go. I think this is 2 weeks now where I think defensively we just didn't play to our standard. And I thought we played well in some phases of the game, but just critical situations, I don't think we didn't play up to our standards. So, like I said, we go back to the drawing boards and figure it out, and we'll get better.
That sound from Xavier McKinney, brought to you by Ford as we look at his numbers today. 2 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, 1 sack in which he kind of came out of nowhere and took down Geno Smith. It was a clutch sack and a great moment for this Giants team. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by NFL All Day. Let's send it back to Seattle, where Darius Slayton is speaking in the locker room.
You have a knack recently with Daniel on being his target on some of these 3rd and longs. What is it about your guys' connection that's allowed you to convert some of those the last couple of weeks?
I don't know. I try to get open, and he normally throws good balls that are easy to catch. So, we've been able to convert on some of them, but obviously got to do a little bit more going forward.
It seems like that one deep in cone was almost a 50-50 ball. You in the corner almost got your hands on the ball at the same time, right?
Yeah. It was a little bit of a wrestle for the ball, but that's our job, is to go get the football. So, I'm going to fight for it every time, and that time I was able to come up with it.
Now you guys can go to the laboratory next couple of weeks, get ready for the second half of the year. What do you, Daniel, the rest of the receivers have to do to kind of get this passing game rolling a little bit better?
I think we just got to do a better, from receiver standpoint, we just got to do a better job of, getting open, making plays on the ball, and pretty much just doing our job. I think, as a whole today, we probably just didn't make as much plays to win the game.
Darius, in the second half, you had 14 and 12 play drives and had to settle for field goals. How much steam does that take out of an offense?
I wouldn't say it initially took steam out at that point, because we were kind of struggling to sustain drives. So it was good momentum to be able to sustain them. But obviously, you want to end drives with touchdowns. And, in those cases, we were unable to get in the end zone. But I think it was good to have those long drives, give our defense a break, and kind of build some momentum.
That sound brought to you by Ford as we look at Darius Slayton's numbers today. 5 receptions, 66 yards total. He had a 21-yard long reception, really connecting with Daniel Jones, especially in that second half. We've got a lot more to come here as we finish up this show. Stay with us for a final segment as we wrap it up here on Giants Postgame Live, presented by NFL All Day. We'll be right back with a little bit more and looking ahead to the bye. Hey Giants fans, check out the Eli Manning Show, presented by Panini Prism Trading Cards. All you have to do is subscribe to the Giants YouTube channel to catch all the new shows. It's the Eli Manning Show this Thursday, November 3rd with Ray Romano. Sean, you guys took Ray Romano. Everybody loves Raymond. You took this man out to the golf course. How'd you hit him?
Yeah, we love Raymond, and you know what I love about Raymond? Taking his money. He made that putt right there, but we won the battle, and it was a fun day out on the course. The wind wasn't too bad.
Okay.
We were out of Liberty National. It was a great setup out there, but it was not a 3-club win, which was very friendly. We appreciated that.
Well, you don't want to miss that new episode of the Eli Manning Show on the Giants YouTube. Hey, we're still recapping this game. Giants fell to the Seahawks 6-2 on the season, and we take a look at the standings in the division. The Eagles still undefeated. Cowboys came away with a win this afternoon, as did the Commanders. This is the winningest division in football right now.
Yeah, who would have thought that? Before the season started, everybody was talking about the NFC East is the weakest division in the league, and now everything's upside down.
Exactly. People were talking about the NFC least. But here's the thing. After the bye week, the Giants are going to have an opportunity to stay at home. Only 2 times they've got to get on an airplane, so that's a pretty good remedy.
There you go. The rest of the road games are on train. That's what he meant right there. For Chris Canty, Shaun O'Hara, I'm Madelyn Burke.
Happy
We're
Halloween.
headed into the bye week.